Welcome to the third and final day of Compact 22. And what a phenomenal couple days it has been. We have been thrilled to see everyone engaging, connecting, sharing what they're learning, using the poll functionality and all of the wonderful components of the platform. We're going to kick off this morning in just a few minutes with our opening session, Full Participation, a conversation with Juan Salgado. But before we get to that, here's a brief overview of the programming for today. After this opening session, we'll have some more breakout sessions. Those will be followed by our final Choose Your Own Adventure block. During this block of time, you can check out some of the recordings of the sessions from the last few days, schedule meetings with other attendees, or join a facilitated discussion in the rooms. We will also have the networking lounge open, so grab a spot and get chatting with other attendees. The Choose Your Own Adventure time will be followed by more breakout sessions, and then we'll wrap up the day with our final closing plenary, Standing Up for Democracy, a conversation with Harry Dunn, which will be moderated by Campus Compact Board Chair, Jonathan Alger. I had the incredible opportunity to sit down with both Harry and John to talk about that session, and I can assure you this is not one that you want to miss. So make sure that you stick around until the end of our day. It is now my pleasure to introduce the incredible leaders in our next session this morning. Yolanda Watson-Spiva, Campus Compact Board Member and President of Complete College America, who will lead a conversation with Juan Salgado, the Chancellor of City Colleges of Chicago. Let me share a little bit about both of these incredible leaders. Yolanda's over 25-year career in post-secondary education spans a range of executive leadership, general management, federal government, public affairs, operations, and academic officer positions. As the president of Complete College America, she has positioned CCA as a national leader in the movement to dramatically increase the percentage of individuals earning a post-secondary credential. We're also the lucky beneficiaries of her expertise, as she's currently on the board of both the Campus Compact National Organization and Washington Campus Compact. Juan Salgado is the Chancellor of City Colleges of Chicago, overseeing Chicago's community college system that serves more than 80,000 students across 7 colleges and campuses. He has focused his more than 20-year career on improving education and economic opportunities for residents in low-income communities. From 2001 to 2017, Salgado was the CEO of the Institute del Progreso Latino, where he worked to empower residents of Chicago's Southwest Side through education, citizenship, and skill-building programs that led to sustainable employment and economic stability. A community college graduate himself, he also has a bachelor's and master's degree. Salgado was a 2015 MacArthur Fellow, and among his other civic commitments, a board member of the Obama Foundation. Welcome, Yolanda and Juan. We will have time for Q&A at the end of the session, so please make sure to direct your questions to the chat.
Thank you so much, Bobby. I appreciate it. And hello, Juan. How are you today? Good. I think you're on mute, Juan.
Very good, Yolanda. It's great to be with you and see you here today.
Awesome. Same thing here. So let's just jump right in. I'm so excited. And thank you, Bobby, again, for that wonderful introduction of Juan. Juan, I understand that you attended community college as well as, of course, serving as a chancellor. So tell me a little bit about your experience with community college personally and how it helped to shape who you are today.
Yeah, I will, Yolanda. But before I do that, I do want to thank you for your leadership with Complete College America, for your board leadership, with Campus Compact. I know you served there with, our president of Wright College, Dr. David Potash, and your contributions, to the field over the many years. Certainly they benefit our students as well. But look, in my case, I'm a fifth of 6 children. And my dad was a steelworker. He worked, 12-hour shifts whenever he can get them. My mother, worked 24/7. raising us, and sharing us the values that have guided us throughout our life. And for me, the value of community college made it possible for me and all of my 6 siblings. We all went through community college. It was the thing that we did. My older
Yes.
sisters were the first ones to go, and the rest of us just simply followed. It was the path that made the most sense. I will say my parents were able to pay off their mortgage. They were able to retire. All
Yeah.
6 of us were able to go to school rather than just one or two of us.
Mhm.
And most importantly, the quality education, helped me to transfer and get a bachelor's degree, get a master's degree. It wasn't easy. I had a night job. I worked 11 to 7 in the morning. I went to class, 5 days a week, to bed, wake up, eat, study, go to work. This is not uncommon.
Yeah.
For full-time work, full-time school, that's what people do to make it through. But I think we did. There's a lot that I learned in that process, and I value the entirety of the experience, right? Both in and out of the class. It helped mold me in a different way, perhaps, than going to straight to a four-year university would have, but
Mhm.
one that should not be underappreciated or underestimated. It molded me. It gave me more skills, attributes, character, resilience, all of things that have been valuable to me.
No, absolutely. And I love that. I appreciate that. I've heard you talk so passionately today, of course, but also at other occasions. I've seen you on the internet where you've talked about the value of your 2 year college experience and your 4 year college as an option for students who are looking to advance their future. And so, as you think about both of your experiences, and of course, as a person who's propagating the 2 year college experience for students in Chicago as well, how do you think we get our communities to really encourage students to take advantage of all of the opportunities that lie within the community college system? It seems like we've created a tiered system where 2 year college is touted as less than, and we know that's not true. So, how do we get students to think about choosing that 2 year pathway as a community college option in the same way that we celebrate students going to a 4 year college?
I just think first of all, we need to continue to um, put the quality of the 2-year college experience front and center, because it is a high quality experience. And look, our community colleges have evolved, right? We've gotten better over time. We've gotten more advanced over time. When you come to the city colleges of today, you're going to see state of the art equipment, real world experience, faculty that come from the fields of interest that our students are interested in going to. And so partnerships with employers and four-year universities that are robust and strong and value added, we have to keep pulling quality in front of our students, in front of our stakeholders, because we have a lot of quality to offer those students. But we also, as you point out, need to make sure that we're simultaneously working on the misconceptions that exist, the preconceived notions that exist, and the biases that exist.
Yeah.
And they do. I, this has been long felt by me as a community college graduate, because what happens to you is that you make a decision to go to community colleges, and people say, "Why are you doing
Yeah.
that?" And so it begins to plant seeds in the very student,
Hmm.
that are not encouraging, are not uplifting, right? Are not supportive, right? And I think people need to hear that there's no benefit to, uh, you know, placing an institution that is not inferior in an inferior context for anybody, much less a student. And so I say this in every setting. I say this to schools. I say this to churches. It's a
Hmm.
reflective moment. Like, When you celebrate the student going on to Harvard, as you should, celebrate the student going on to community college as well, right?
That's right.
Understand that there's so much to be gained and nothing to be lost in doing that.
Yes.
And yet, we don't often do that enough, whether it's in our schools, in our churches. And then the other thing that we're really trying hard to do is make sure that our counselors in particular, who many don't have the 2 year experience, they've had the 4 year experience, really understand the benefits that come from a 2 year, a 2+2 program. And so we have a joint effort with Chicago Public Schools. We're working hard to make sure that at every level, whether it's teachers or counselors, they understand the quality, they understand the student experience. And I'll just say one thing about data. Of the we serve more than 45% of the CPS students that go on to post-secondary education. 45% of them, okay? That's a large proportion of students that go on to post-secondary education. Half of those students come to us immediately out of CPS. The other half come as transfers from four-year universities because the finances didn't work out. And then they're with that, and they're tragic stories, be honest with you, because they're restart stories. And, we're trying to make sure that the counselors understand, that this is preventable. We need to have financial plans for 4 years, not 1 year, and put that in front of our students and our families.
Absolutely. I love that one. And the thing is also about community colleges is that I think people forget or maybe are not aware that the community part of community colleges is about the anchor institution that a community college is. Community colleges serve as the anchor for their communities. They're serving not just the students who are there for an education or for some sort of credential, they're also serving older Americans. So the elderly are able to come there and get advanced skills in computing and things like that. They have summer camps for K through 12 students or our dual degree programs with students who are dually enrolled in secondary education and in community college. So can you talk a little bit about the community part of community college and what you see as the responsibilities and advantages of being a community college in our communities across the nation?
Yes, Yolanda, you might imagine this is very near and dear to my heart.
Yes.
As was mentioned before, I led a community-based education institution, where we partnered with the community college to, identify people that were adults in the community that wanted to enter into careers, but were quite frankly at third grade and fourth grade and fifth grade reading levels where they needed to shore them up. And so what we discovered and knew all along is that with the right supports, those adult learners could in fact become nurses and leaders in advanced manufacturing and information technology and many other careers that provide economic opportunity and mobility for those residents. And so fundamentally, we are community institutions as you've described. And when you are a community institutions, in our case, we have colleges in our neighborhoods. We have satellite centers in our neighborhoods. We are at our best when we're deeply woven into the fabric of those neighborhoods, where we're taking advantage of the opportunities present and the human talent present, where we're solving for the challenges, of those communities. We're at our best. I'll give you, you gave some examples. I'll give a few more of what it means to us, right? What it means to us at city colleges is you take your early childhood education and you build cohorts at community-based childcare centers. So, the folks can go there and drop off their kids and at the same time get their education so that they can later, be the workforce that those same children and others, really need. Or, we house the Metropolitan Peace Academy and coursework for that. These are the violence interrupters from across the city who are bringing their relationship and skills to save lives as they progress their careers, right? or second chance programs like our Still I Rise or our Weekend Warriors programs, that, provide, real direct opportunity to high demand careers, whether it's in welding or whether it's in cannabis, for, folks that, merit an opportunity, more than merit an opportunity, to be a part of the economy in their local communities. And so, as I mentioned earlier, bridge programs. I mean, so there's a wide range of things that we do because we're present in community, and therefore we discover the opportunities and we respond to those opportunities. And then, we create pathways, whether, to ensure that we're meeting local demand. And it's not just economic mobility, as you mentioned, but a lot of it is, I have to say, right? A lot of it is because obviously we run after school programs. And as you said, the dual credit, dual enrollment stuff, and everything from swimming, right? And knowing how to swim is a very important thing. And we're one of the key institutions that do that. But the economic mobility part, I think, is central, right, to our mission and our ability to reach so many diverse people in diverse situations because of who we are makes us unique and such a value, to the educational ecosystem.
I'd love to riff off of that a little bit, Juan, because I heard you mention a little bit about the early childhood program, especially for those parent learners who are on your campuses. Can you talk a little bit about what the state of Illinois and specifically the city of Chicago is doing to address the needs of learners who are also parents? I know that in 2020, each city college created an equity plan. Can you talk about how those are progressing and how those are essentially working to accelerate opportunities for non-white students and those who are first gen or from low income household backgrounds?
So glad you gave me the opportunity to speak about this. We've put equity at the center of everything we do. As you mentioned, each college, has built a specific equity plan. The equity challenges at each college are, unique, but when you summarize them as a whole, the themes are, very similar. Our Black and Latinx students perform, I'd say perform, have completion rates that are substantially below our white students. And we have to do something about that, okay? As an institution, we, for the first time, started by being transparent about the challenge, number one. We identify it, we know what it is, we share it with it, we develop strategies, okay? And then we monitor in a data-driven approach which strategies are working so that we can accelerate, grow, and scale those strategies. And so, we've put an entire a continuing, I would say, continuous improvement process in place in order to assure ourselves, that we're hitting those particular metrics. I'd say we're early on in that process. Our goals are very clear. We aim to close the equity gap entirely over the next 12-year period, close it by 30% in the next 5-year period. This is consistent with what institutions like Georgia State were able to do. Only in our case, it's a little bit different, Yolanda, because we will accomplish this at an institution that is completely open access. And I say we will because we have the resolve, okay? We have the resolve. And when you have the resolve and you put plans in place, you need to adjust those plans. But I believe firmly that when you have the resolve, we can get there. I don't believe these equity gaps can and should exist at any institution. And that's what I'm here to help solve for.
So first of all, kudos to you for having the resolve. I think that matters the most, right? Believing and committing to doing so. And so I really appreciate you saying that. And especially at an open access institution, I think people forget the steep hill you have to climb in terms of trying to close those equity gaps. But I really, really do appreciate your resolve in that regard. Um, I want to talk a little bit with respect to what you were just talking about, because I think that there is a role for all of this in terms of we're at a crisis moment in our world around democracy and what we're seeing in Ukraine and the horrific acts that are being meted upon the people of Ukraine, but also even domestically here in the United States. And so when I think about community colleges, the role as an anchor institution, the role as an open access institution, I mean, I really feel like there's a role of community colleges in supporting democracy and community engagement. I'm sure you see it the same way. Can you talk a little bit about what the role is of community colleges in promoting democracy and community engagement?
Yeah. Look, I really appreciate us having this conversation, and that's why I really appreciate this invitation in particular. Um, I think it's important for folks to know where I come from in this respect.
Yes.
Personally, uh, I actually was for 10 years the president of the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights
Oh,
for
wow.
the state of Illinois. Okay.
Hmm.
As a volunteer post, if you will, about a half-time job, but
Yes.
one that I deeply believed in, but my first experience in sort of civic life was the most impactful education experience I ever had, no matter what I did. It was the East St. Louis Action Research Project led by Dr. Kenneth Weirden, where I, as a student in graduate school, was able to partner with the Winstanley Industry Park Neighborhood Association in East St. Louis, Illinois, and be their planner, help to organize and strengthen local community, right? It was the most meaningful education experience that I ever
Hmm.
had, right? And,
Hmm.
when I think about that, right, I think about our students and just how active, similarly active, and engaged they are in the community, and how they weave that sense of responsibility and care and commitment, to their local communities, which is at the end of the day the building block for democracy, right? Is your engagement at the local level. It's what you're seeing in Ukraine and people wanting to, be there, right? For country. But country is really about community, and community is woven together in a way, that makes us a bigger and stronger whole. So we have to be, and I fundamentally believe that, we are at the sort of at the I hate to put it this, but we're at the tip of the spear, if you will, because our students are at the tip of the spear of the most challenging things that we're dealing with in the United States of America. You know,
Hmm.
they're at the tip of the spear of a society that continues to have deep roots of institutional racism, that they, at the end of the day, have to deal with in lots of different ways, right? Or, an education marketplace that, as we said earlier, has biases, right? Or as we saw recently at the city of Chicago. By the way, our students, the city of Chicago just denied a permit for a metal shredding plant that would have contributed to further environmental hazards for residents
Wow.
of the southeast side of Chicago. This was a big deal, okay?
Yes.
The US
Hmm.
EPA got involved, everything else. It was a long, drawn out process that included a hunger strike. Two of the leaders, of the five leaders of the hunger strike, one was an alum of Harold Washington College, and
Yes.
the other was a current student of Olive Harvey College. Okay. So our students, and I can give you more examples of they're in abundance. And so, we are, I will say early in the process of trying to figure out how do we support that more. I'm going to give you a couple examples of how we're doing that. Number one,
Please.
Harold Washington College is one of 10 citizen leadership centers nationwide. This has been created in partnership with the Citizens Campaign that aims to give citizens the tools and know how to exercise that power beyond the ballot, really equipping them with problem-solving skills to work together, et cetera. Of course, Wilbur Wright College is working with Campus Compact and has been working with Campus Compact for many, many years. We partner with the Pulitzer Center, to build our students' news literacy, and we're looking more and more at news literacy as an important, thing that we need to, wrestle with and maybe even provide as an institution, right? Tools for our students to get the right kind of, information, right? And
Mhm.
this past year, with the passing of Dr. Timiel, a civil rights leader and icon in Chicago, we created something that I think is going to sort of bring that together, which is going to be the Timiel Black Scholars. These will be
Mm.
roughly 20 to 25 scholars chosen every year from amongst the city college's student population to receive a full scholarship, but also to receive leadership development. These would be students that are already active in their communities, like the students I described earlier who were active with the metal shredding plant. We need to
Mhm.
help support that kind of student leadership that goes above and beyond campus leadership, goes into
Yes.
community leadership. And so, you keep your eye on that. We're certainly going to want to tap into Campus Compact more for that. We think that is also part of an important ingredient to student completion and overall
Mhm.
student success, because our students are motivated in ways we've never seen before, beyond themselves. They want to do well in life. They really want to see their communities do well in life, and in ways that I think are beyond what my generation would have imagined. I think I really give this generation so much more credit, because of what I get to observe and see from them every single day.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that so much. And when you talked about your experience in East St. Louis, it reminded me of Jonathan Kozol's book, Savage Inequalities. Do you remember that book? And it just
Oh,
really
yeah.
highlight that was the first time it really highlighted for me like how disparate the opportunity is for students, especially in certain communities, but East St. Louis is one of them. So I appreciate your work in that area and trying to uplift the students of that community. And as I think about that, I think about just how our students come to us with having come from environments that have savage inequalities. And so in terms of based on the zip code they were born into, their opportunities are lessened or the way that they're perceived sometimes can even be lessened. And so I know the city colleges of Chicago, excuse me, you use student support programs to help engage your students. And so how do you support students coming from because you're open access, you have students with varied backgrounds, socioeconomically, as you mentioned, even refugee resettlement and things of that nature, all sorts of things that could serve as a hindrance to completion. How do you provide student support opportunities for these students and programs to help fully support them in their classroom and in their community?
Yeah, that's a look. I appreciate that you started with wellness. I'll talk about financial supports because I think we're doing a lot there with the
Yeah.
financial supports. Um, uh, but I do think that the wellness supports are really critical, particularly at this point in time. We have
Agree.
wellness centers at every single one of our campuses, and we're beefing that up. In many different ways. We've launched at our campuses, and all campuses will be, completed with this process soon. A caring campus a program that we've been doing, working with faculty, making sure that our campuses continue to build upon and strengthen our skills in terms of being, caring communities. We are rigorous without question, but rigor is
Yes.
not the same. Rigidity and rigor are not the same thing. You can be
No.
very rigorous, right, while also providing, students with that sense that you're going to be there for them when they, run into whatever challenges they may run into. We are going to a coaching model, right,
Hmm.
of student support in
Mhm.
everything that we do. to make sure that we're seen and felt in the ways that students want us to be, right, on a regular basis. And then, of course, I think it is important, that we do provide as many, financial opportunities because our students are struggling. So, we, by the way, we have not raised tuition in 7 years at City
Oh my
Colleges of
goodness.
Chicago. Okay,
Thank
that's a
you.
big deal.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes. We just announced with the use of our federal funds a program called Future Ready, which is we took 100 of our programs that are high demand occupations with good wages when students complete, and we've made them free to any Chicagoan. This has created a real opportunity at the local level. We launched a Fresh Start Debt Forgiveness Program. Basically, what we said, any student that owed us money in the past 10 years, it's completely forgiven. All you have to do is come in and restart your career.
Wow.
We've used our federal funds to eliminate student balances. So any student that got to the end of the semester who simply, couldn't pay us, we just said that's what the federal funds ought to be used for. So right now, our bad debt from students is a big fat zero.
Yes.
So, we have a STAR scholarship. It's more of a merit-based scholarship. If you get a B average in Chicago public schools, community college is completely free to you. And that has gone, very well, continues to grow. We've had over 10,000 students take advantage of that program. It's also open to any Dreamer student. So it doesn't matter if you're documented or undocumented, it matters that you achieve the B average. And so what I'm saying to you is, we are stretching ourselves, right, as an institution. And we need to stretch ourselves because our students stretch themselves every single day, and that's, I think, what characterizes the community colleges. It is an institution that, is the glue and fabric, oftentimes within the, higher education infrastructure and ecosystem. But we also have to stretch ourselves really far, really wide in order to meet student needs. And I won't say it's not challenging. It is extremely challenging,
Yes.
but it's extremely rewarding, more rewarding than it is challenging.
That is, first of all, kudos. You saw me applauding while you were speaking, because I think that's being student centered is where institutions really need to move the needle toward, and not talking about how we can make our schedules better for our faculty to have Fridays off and all that sort of thing. We need to really make sure we're doing things that are about the student. So thank you for doing that. I have one more question, and then I'd like to open it up to the audience. And so everybody get your questions ready. I think I see a few coming in through the chat, but if you have questions, please load them up. But I'll ask you one more question, Juan, if you don't mind, because I heard you talk about financial opportunities for students. So you mentioned the STAR Scholarship, you mentioned other things that are happening institution-wide, but I think I know, what I know, not think, I know that the City Colleges of Chicago are also utilizing some really key partnerships, some innovative partnerships that will allow students to earn money while as students, but also potentially after they enter the workforce. Can you talk about how you're partnering with other anchor institutions across the city, including the STEM partnership with my alma mater, the University of Chicago? It's my alma mater. And can you talk about that STEM partnership, but also the state, the partnership that you have with the state for the, I heard you mention earlier, the cannabis program, and I didn't want to let that float away. I heard you say that, but I know you have a cannabis community college vocational pilot program. So if you could talk about both of those, that would be great so our audience can learn what you're doing in both of those innovative spaces.
Yeah. Yeah, that we definitely are, Yolanda, trying to, just find new ways of, seeing opportunities and seizing opportunities. So when you think about like University of Chicago partnership, traditionally you might think we're always seeking partnerships with universities for transfer opportunities, right? Well, University of Chicago is, not a transfer destination for our students at the moment. Okay. But that doesn't mean there's so many things that we can do. It also doesn't mean that our students, can't have the level of exposure and engagement with what's happening at the university. And so we started with saying, they opened up a new, Pritzker School of Molecular Engineering. And we said to ourselves, well, look, our students should be involved in some way with that. And they said, yes, let's figure out a way. And so we created a program where our students, have an opportunity to be a part of the Pritzker School of Molecular Engineering. And it's been wonderful. But the other area is, there are new emerging fields where our ability to stay relevant and on top of what's happening in the economy can be informed by and assisted by an institution like the University of Chicago. So take data science, for instance. We will struggle mightily with the resources we have here today, to really stay at the forefront of what's happening in the field of data science. But the faculty at the University of Chicago working with us can actually help us to stay to be at the forefront in data science. And by the way, their graduate students in data sciences can also help come and teach and help to prepare some of our faculty to continue to teach. And so we're collaborating in these ways so that the capacity that a University of Chicago has gets shared in abundance, right?
Yes.
With a vibrant and important community institution which is our community college system. So we've reimagined what it could be like to actually work with the University of Chicago, and we have this plan in place. And look, you mentioned cannabis. The minute the cannabis opportunity opened up, in the state of Illinois, we jumped on it, and Olive Harvey College, really jumped on it, and brought in, companies, to partner with, that really needed the talent, right? But also really wanted to partner with an institution that was moving at the speed and pace that we were moving, that has the reach into the community that we have. We don't do this on our own, by the way. We have partners in local community. One on the west side of the city that helps us to recruit and support students, UCAN, and one on the south side of the city, Centers for New Horizons, that helps us do the same, that are funneling, students that, have, had marijuana offenses in the past. They should be the first ones in line, right?
Yes.
We should have this is what we have. We should have a specialized program just for them to make sure that these cannabis opportunities are open and accessible to them, and that they're supported by a community college system working with the community-based organizations and by the employers themselves. So Cresco Labs, for instance, who's just become, keeps growing and growing and growing, has been one of our core partners. They're providing funding. And the next stage of this work, I think is going to have phenomenal impacts for local communities. So those are the kinds of things we're doing. We're partnering with Apple to open up, tech labs that bring tech tools to teachers. I can go on, but we have to reimagine. That's the point. We have to reimagine.
Yes, absolutely. And so please visit the City Colleges of Chicago website if you want to see all of the partnerships that they have. And I really appreciate you, Juan, for putting those students who have been offenders at the front of the line, actually, for the industry that they were operating in when they were offenders, and now having them to operate in that industry now that it's legalized. So thank you for that. Questions from the audience. So we have a question, Juan, where someone is asking, how do we energize community college students to engage around being a student at a community college if they are a commuter? They don't live on campus. We know that's pretty much predominant in this space. How do we get these students to feel excited and energized about the college experience when they don't live on campus?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, I just give you my belief on it. there's a segment of students that will be active, and others that may not be active on the campus, but are certainly engaged in their own communities as a whole. And then there's also, I think about myself. I wasn't very engaged during my 2 years at community college. I was working full time. It was hard to do that, right? My contributions. But I think what we want to do is make sure those students are seen and felt. Okay, they may not be as active. If I think our college campus, we have a segment of students that are super active in community. Those commuter students, that may not spend as much time, and that's become a bigger issue, by the way, now with the pandemic, because we now have, the virtual courses that we were providing during the pandemic, based on our students' interest. We're continuing them on. So our students now have the opportunity to take, traditional online live, which is our remote instruction, as well as in person. And close to 50% are choosing, the online live modality for at least one course. Okay, so they're actually going to be coming to campus even less in the future, right? But the community is the campus. The community is the campus. And I think if we start imagining and thinking about the community as our campus and engaging our students, in the contributions that they're making to their families, to their communities, and understanding that better, recognizing that, and embracing that, we're going to start to redefine what student engagement looks like, right, on a college campus setting. And that's where my mind is headed with regards to that. We've got a lot of work to do in that regard, but it is where my mind is headed.
Well, I like that your mind is headed there because that is a great segue to our next question. The community is our campus. We have a question where someone is asking for advice for community colleges that don't have funds or staff to dedicate to community engagement work. How could they get active if they don't have the funds or staff to do so?
Yeah, that's I appreciate that challenge. Um, you know, I will use it as a plug, to say that, you know, uh, you go back to equity. Everything is upside down in education, right? The schools that need this is the savage inequality that Jonathan Kozol talked about in K through 12 schools. The schools that need it the most get the least, right?
Yes.
In order to support their students. It happens in K through 12, it happens in higher education, right? This is not to say that we can't find a way. It's just to say that President Biden had it right when he said we need to support community colleges more. And I don't know what that way is, but we're going to need to find that way. Okay. And I will continue to advocate. In the meantime, we're just going to have to be creative. And I would
Yeah.
say that creativity will drive further investment, in this kind of work. And so I would look to community-based partnerships, faith-based partnerships, going out and trying to collaborate to seek resources together that include support for the local community to engage with you because they need resources to engage with you as well, as along with resources for the college to engage with the community, right? And so, I would make the case, to philanthropic partners. I would say it's just as important to have those kinds of resources than it is to have a scholarship resource,
Yes.
for a particular student, right? So, if I'm investing so much money in scholarships, why not think about carving out a little bit of that, for community partnerships that may be able to reach a wider set of students? So I would try to make the case for that within my institution, and wherever there are opportunities to raise money, I would do that too.
Agreed. We have a question where someone is asking about, we talked about, of course, the partnership with the University of Chicago. And of course, I know you have other partnerships with other four-year institutions. How can four-year campuses support community colleges in the work that you're trying to do, in the ways that you've talked about, all of the myriad ways you're trying to support students? How can four-year campuses help support what community colleges are doing?
Yeah, I love that question, by the way, and I want to thank the person who asked that question, um, because look, uh, we're part of an ecosystem of support and care. We operate sometimes like we're disconnected from each other. And you know this, right?
Yes.
How hard it is just to get you know credits to transfer. Right. I mean, that's like that kind of stuff. I don't have a career in higher ed, but that kind of stuff is ludicrous to me. We're finally able to get the complete AAS to transfer from city colleges and community colleges in Illinois to four-year universities. Okay. The entire AAS to transfer. We couldn't do this going by one. You know how we got it? We got it by pushing for a community college baccalaureate. Okay. So that we can get the ability to give a bachelor's degree. And the four-year university said, no, but we'll accept all your AS. Wonderful. We're making progress. Okay. But here's the deal. We'll never get there if we're not seeing ourselves as one and working as one. So I would say the first point is, let's make sure we got the mindset right. And that question says to me, there's a wonderful human being out there that's thinking about this in the right ways, right? So what I would say is gather some friends who think similarly, okay, in your institution, right? At your community colleges. Bring those friends together at a common table and start imagining, what we could be doing together. Look at your own resources, where you might have resources or relationships, that can take some of those ideas and bring them into action. I would love to see the day where four-year universities, and this is to some degree what's happening with University of Chicago. I mean, the level of wealth that they have access to because of the level of wealth that their alums have gotten over time, needs to be thought about differently, and so how do we tap into donors, to really that see a bigger picture here and want to create a more equitable, inclusive world that taps into community colleges. So, but I think it starts with bringing people together, quite frankly, that's the starting point. It doesn't start with programs, or services. It starts with human relationships, human connections, human vision, and then human plans to help other human beings advance in society.
I love that. Juan, we have another question from our audience here. And the question comes from someone who's focused on students who come to the city colleges and need academic supports to be successful. What is your institution? What are the city colleges doing to meet the needs of these students to help them be successful?
Yeah, so a number of different things we're doing right now. I'm going to start with our partnership with Chicago Public Schools, historically strong partnership that we've built. We have a joint plan called the Chicago Roadmap, and we have very specific strategies to make sure that community colleges, not just growing dual credit and dual enrollment, not just creating new model pathways starting in high school into, high demand careers where they can get college credit, but also we're doing transitional math in English so that students who pass those courses no longer have to they enter directly into credit bearing courses. They bypass the developmental education sequence. We put a team together on campus at city colleges of our development educators from all 7 campuses. We asked them to make recommendations to improve development and education. We got 18 recommendations. We took them all and we funded them all. Okay. And those include things like prerequisites. They include, summer bridge programming, where, students, that need a little more help over the summer can come into a program at no cost. By the way, not only no cost, we've raised money to pay them $1,000 for them to spend their summer or part of their summer learning so that they're in a better position to succeed when they start and perhaps even not even enter developmental education. And I can go on, but there are a lot of other strategies. We've made this metric a key performance indicator, and the metric is taking and passing college level English and math in your first year of college. This is a key performance metric for all of our colleges. We're monitoring it, and we want to see that grow tremendously because we know this. Students that do not take college level English and math in their first year and pass it don't tend to complete, Yolanda. You know this at Complete College America, right? Yeah. Therefore, we have to get them to be, whether they're adult students or students coming out of, directly out of Chicago public schools. And then, the last thing, of course, is, I do believe that, all of the human caring supports that are provided, including, by the way, very accessible tutoring, right? So, we need to, in an institution like ours, get away from our tutoring hours are, from 9 to 6 or whatever, right? Our tutoring hours have to be on demand, and so we're using a mixture of our staff in person. We have now remote work policies that allow our staff to take hours well into the evening, in their homes, which is working out, is working out well. And then we have vendors that are able to help us on the evenings as well, right? Especially with like the wellness services and others. And so we have to stretch that accordion, really wide in order to be present for students.
Yes, absolutely. Juan, we have one more question from the audience. I hope you can take this one. This person was piqued, their interest was piqued based on you talking about your coaching model at the city colleges. And they'd like to know about the idea of coaching and how do you get buy-in from faculty so that they can see themselves as a coach and that being a part of their role, not just as a teacher, but also as a coach and advisor potentially.
Yeah. So, two things that are helping us out here. I would really, encourage you all to look at the, Caring Campus initiative. This is an evidence-based program being done, out of Columbia University, and the work that they've been doing there. We got linked up to it through the Teacher Center, and that's been really helpful. Dr. Stephanie Carr, Vice Chancellor for Student Experience, has been really working on this, coaching model. And I think what has helped us the most is, making sure that, as you said, there is lots of buy-in. And I will tell you, one of the things that I've had to learn in this role is a little more patience. Okay. Because when I first saw this coaching possibility, I just went really crazy excited. And I said, we should have this tomorrow, right? Like by next semester. and Dr. Cross said, it's going to take us a year, at least to get the right level of buy-in. Then we need to do like, some serious capacity building and training. And so, to be honest with you, we're at a really good place as an institution, but it took 2 years to get us to a really good place. And when I go back, I'm certain that my way would not have been the right way. Get to it quicker, to help students. I think we would have helped fewer students. The patient approach that Dr. Craw encouraged me to take, right? That had the building blocks, and we took the next steps when we were certain that the community was ready to take the next steps. Because you don't want people coaching when they don't want to coach, right? Or they don't know how to coach, or we haven't had enough of an agreement institutionally, that coaching is the right direction to go, right? And all of those things have to be worked out with the beloved human beings that work on our campuses, that have been doing extremely good work, but for whom this is a shift, okay? And one that needs to be fully supported by us. So that would be my other advice. Take the patient, methodical, thoughtful approach. You can talk to Dr. Craw from our team about how she went about it. She's done a tremendous job.
Wow. Juan, I've heard you say so many nuggets, so many jewels that are really important. One, especially you just mentioned in terms of making sure the community was ready before you just take the lead and hammer something down their throats. You kind of wanted to bring them along with you. So I appreciate your patience in doing that, but also understanding how transformation happens. It happens. It doesn't happen at all times with a hammer. Sometimes it happens with embrace and loving arms and bringing people in together. So thank you for your patience in that regard. I also heard you talk about an ecosystem of support and care and how you've built that at the City Colleges of Chicago so that students feel supported and wanted and needed, and that they're essential to the fabric of the campus. And then I heard you say that the community is our campus. And so when I hear you talk about community colleges, you really make me smile because it seems like there's such a student-centered and community-centered focus. Is there anything else that I did not ask you or that you'd like to add about what's happening at City Colleges of Chicago before we say adieu today?
Yeah. I think I didn't use the word love yet, okay, Yolanda? But I'm going to close with the word love because, the people that work here, myself, others, the people that volunteer here, our students, there's a true, profound love for the work that we do, the mission that we have. And I think that is a powerful force. And I just wanted to mention that.
Yes, I appreciate that. And I'm so glad you said that. There's a campus out of Texas. I know they talk about love a lot about their students, and the president was saying that he got a lot of pushback. Like, what kind of hippie movement is this about you love your students? And he's like, no, but I always say that first you have to care, right? And so when you talk about the ecosystem of support and care, I believe that wholeheartedly. If you don't care what happens to your students or you don't care about their well-being, then you really have some issues. And so I think being able to say that you care about the students and you want them to succeed and you love them, things that you love and care about, you don't treat it any kind of way, right? You really invest in it.
That's right, Yolanda. And just yeah,
please go right ahead.
I just wanted to thank you. This has been a wonderful, opportunity to share in this moment with you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I have one more question because I see we have a little bit more time. I thought we were at our end, but we do have a couple more minutes. Do you have a couple more minutes, Juan?
Yeah, that's fine. Mm-hmm.
Okay, absolutely. So someone was asking about your CEL courses and if you have community engagement initiatives at the city colleges. Can you talk more about the various city community engagement initiatives that you have at the various city colleges?
I'd want to know a little bit more about what you would characterize as sort of, community engagement, to answer that correctly.
This is a question from the audience, so I'm not exactly sure.
Okay,
but
gotcha.
I guess,
Okay.
yeah, so I would say, I guess, I know you talked a little bit about what's happening at Harold Washington and Wilbur Wright and Olive Harvey. Are there any other programs you want to talk about that are happening at those colleges, please feel free to do so.
Yeah. So I think we, just overarching, I can go through a host of sort of, community partnership, type efforts that we have where we're really linking up with those local communities. I can give you examples of what we're doing and what we're planning to do already. I mentioned one, for instance, right? The Weekend Warriors program, which we're going to be, growing, where we literally shut down. Well, we opened the college over the weekend to, mostly men who are, most at risk of being shot or killed, and and give them an opportunity to be at the entire campus, to actually get a welding certification, but also, get wellness supports and use the gymnasium and have a healthy meal, while they're building community that's moving forward. And they're in this coursework from Friday, what is it, 10 o'clock to 8 o'clock at night, Saturday 10 to 8, Sunday 10 to 8. So this is weekend work, okay, through a partnership with the Inner City Muslim Action Network. So that's an example. I can give you lots of others that are similar. We do work with Enlace Chicago, which works with the Latino community, and the Chicago Bilingual Nurses Consortium. And there's a lot of those kinds of partnerships that are more community engagement sort of oriented. But I will say one thing that we're, pulling out right now as we speak is we're going to build a set of what we call, community, liaisons to communities, basically, to help the adult learners in those communities in particular link up to city colleges through community-based organizations. So we have a whole adult learning strategy that is inclusive of supporting parents. That's going to be a big impetus for us in the future. And this will have us, with boots on the ground presence, in the communities in Chicago that most need us to have boots on the ground presence. Not a recruiter, okay, to come recruit you to city colleges. Somebody that can help you to understand the full, capabilities of this institution to fully impact your family, your neighbor, your church, your community institution, assigned to that neighborhood, to be a fabric of that neighborhood, and to ensure that that neighborhood is deeply connected, not just to one institution of city colleges, but to 7 institutions, that can wrap their hands around and be of support. And so we're building that connective tissue, and we're going to invest in that connective tissue, starting with those communities that our city has identified as the communities hardest hit by COVID, hardest hit by violence, hardest hit by institutional racism. That's where our starting point is going to be.
Well, I want to thank you, Juan, on behalf of Campus Compact, for your time today, your wisdom, your knowledge, and your advocacy and support of students in the city colleges of Chicago and beyond. I want to give a shout out to the 7 city colleges of Chicago: Harold Washington, Harry S. Truman, Kennedy King College, Malcolm X College, Olive Harvey College. We see Richard J. Daley College, and Wilbur Wright College. I hope I got them all. I want to give them a shout out on. Thank you. Good. On your behalf. And thank you and the City Colleges of Chicago for all you're doing for the residents of Chicago and beyond who come to the City Colleges of Chicago with hope, aspiration, and a dream, and you're helping to fulfill those dreams. Thank you.
Thank you, Yolanda. I've truly enjoyed this. It's been wonderful.
Same here. I'd like to alert our audience that our next breakout session will begin at 12:25 p.m. Eastern Time. And so please, if you want to take a break, please feel free to do so. But thank you all for your questions and for engaging. Again, next breakout session begins at 12:25 Eastern Time. Thank you again, Juan Salgado, Chancellor of the City Colleges of Chicago. Have a great day.